A man entering your body versus a man sticking his dick in a hole is two different things. Number one, most women are very emotional. I don't understand how you don't get that.
Can you hand me your can?
Why?
Thank you.
No, just hand it here. Now hand it to Jen. Now Jen, hand the can back to her. And hand it to me one more time, and I'm gonna hand it to you. Now take a sip.
It tastes the same.
Wait, take a sip. Okay?
Now imagine.
Wait, if for those of you listening and not watching, we just passed a can around 4 or 5 times. I put my hands on it, passed it to Jen put her hands on it, passed it about 4 or 5 times. And then I had Azar take a sip. Did it taste the same?
Well, I'll
Wait, listen. Did the contents and the inside taste the same? Now, what if I stick my finger in it and have it? But wait, pause.
Yeah,
What if I stick my finger in it, have Angelito, our producer, stick his finger in it, have Jen stick her finger in it? Do you think it'll taste the same? Would you want to drink it?
No.
That is the difference between when a man cheats and when a woman cheats. See, you can wipe the can off, but if I stuck my finger in here and she stuck her finger in here, then you wouldn't want it. That is the difference.
Why women's body count matters biologically. I'm a neuroscientist. Let me explain. Studies show that women absorb and retain the DNA of every man they've been with via sperm. This foreign DNA has been found in the brain, organs, and reproductive system, but nobody talks about the consequences. And that DNA isn't just stored, it's used in creating future children. A woman's past men leave a permanent biological imprint. Ever wonder why some kids resemble an ex more than their father? This is usually why. While the father provides most of the DNA, genetic material from past men is also used. And it's not just looks. Physical and mental disorders can be passed down as well. The more men a woman has been with, the higher the risk of negative mutations in her future children. So ladies, your past doesn't disappear. Every man leaves a mark on your body and your future children. And fellas, think twice before having a child with a woman who's been with too many men, because you won't be the only one shaping that child. Disturbing? Alarming? Let me know in the comments.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, verse 1, and it reads, They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again unto me, saith Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Raha HaKakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be likened to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barazal, prophet of doom from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. And before I get into it, I just want to declare fair use according to the Copyright Act of 1976, as outlined in Section 107, and also a medical disclaimer. Both of these, which preceded the video, were put in place, and I just want to declare it audibly. Okay. So with that being said, all right, you saw those 2 clips. The first clip, about the podcast, about the difference between a man cheating and a woman cheating. First of all, when you understand there's a difference, that's what they call adultery, cheating. Okay, it's actually adultery. But there's a difference between adultery for a man and adultery for a woman, okay? But I want to get into the scripture. Jeremiah 3:1 is actually talking about Israel, okay? Because Israel is likened to a wife for Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, okay? But the same applies to a literal man and woman, okay? In this case, all right? So let me just prove that what I just said there. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, and begin at verse 5. And it reads, For thy maker is thy husband, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. The power of the whole earth shall he be called. Verse 6, for Yahweh Bashem Yahushai hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when thou wast refused, saith thy power. Okay, so yeah, the Lord is calling the nation of Israel his wife. And that Jeremiah 3:1 is talking about how we went away and whored with other gods, played the harlot with other gods and stuff, instead of keeping him as our one and true power. Okay, but he likened that to the actual man and woman when it comes to marriage. Okay, this is what he was talking about in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, beginning at verse 1. All right, and this is what this was talking about in Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 1. It says, when a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go to be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, verse 4, the former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled, for that is abomination before Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which Yahweh thy power, Slakia, giveth thee for an inheritance. Okay? So that's what that's talking about. All right? As the Lord sees the nation of Israel as a woman, so this it's the same stead when it comes to an actual man and woman. That land or the woman is polluted, okay, and polluted with the seed of other men. That's what the two video clips was trying to get. Was pointing out. Okay, it's a difference between a man and a woman, a stark difference. Okay, now that passing of the can around and touching it, and then sticking the finger in it was a little, little bit over the top. I just want to make it real simple. You have one woman and 12 men, and then you have one man and 12 women. Okay, only the man has the seed. Okay, so you have the seed going into 12 different women. And let's say this was a perfect scenario, that seed going into 12 different women. They won't have anything to do with each other, okay? Whereas in the other scenario, 12 men with one woman, all of that seed is going into one place. That's it's meant by being polluted, as the doctor was explaining about a high body count. Okay, and that's against the law. All right, and notice he compared that woman to the land. Okay, all right. Even in construction, when you're getting ready to build a new building, you do what's called a phase 1 report or phase 2 report, if necessary, and then go into the soil, actual soil borings on where the building is going to stand. Okay, if those two test phases and the soil borings come back saying that somehow that land is contaminated, in the true sense of construction, you have to clear all of the polluted land out and bring in new land to fill it in, or else that definitely ruins the integrity of the building that you want to put there. Okay, and then sometimes that land can be so polluted, the cost of removing it and bringing in a new soil is cost prohibitive to the entire project. Okay, which means your return on the investment, isn't worth it. Okay, I mean your investment for return isn't worth it. You know, we liken that to like bearing fruit. A building is put up for a purpose, but that land has to be right. Okay, it has to be right. The integrity of it cannot be defiled. I've seen that ruin a many of construction projects. You know, ruining many of them. So, the thing is, there is a stark difference between one man with multiple women and one woman with multiple men. We know that according to the law. Okay, when you get into Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 13 through 30, adultery for a man is sleeping with another man's wife. Adultery for a woman is sleeping with another man other than her husband. Okay, let me get the shortened forms of that. This is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10. And it reads, "And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death." Okay? Now, when you go into the law, if that man goes into another man's wife and she cries out, only that man is supposed to be put to death. Okay? But if she's down with it, both of them are supposed to die. Point blank, period. You see a great example of that between David and Bathsheba. But Yahweh Shai had other plans. Okay? Had other plans because he went into Uriah the Hittite's wife, got her pregnant. Okay? And, she was down with it. She didn't cry out. According to the law, both of them were supposed to die, but it didn't happen. Okay? It did not happen because she did not cry out. Okay? But that's the law. Okay? But she was defiled according to the law. All right? Now, as far as the woman is concerned, in that same law, I'll go to Romans chapter 7. Beginning at verse 2. And it reads, "For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband." Verse 3. "So then if, while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man." Okay? So the woman, she is as long as her prior husbands are deceased, prior husband or husbands are deceased, it's okay for her to go to another man. Okay, but as long as they're living, no, she's an adulteress and she's caused him to be one. And I'd have to imagine, based on what social media is revealing now, the scriptures are well justified and say that we are a nation of adulterers and adulteresses. Okay, very much so, very much justified, because that's the way it is. We see it. These women, have these high body counts. You got a lot of them that say, well, if he didn't make me climax, it don't count. No, he penetrated you. Okay? Point blank, period. I just did a video of a few weeks ago. This woman, 27 years old, and body count, over a couple thousand. Come on now. Yeah, and then she came parabon. And just like that scientist said, You know, you carry that DNA with you forever. Okay. Unlike the physical land, like I talked about in the construction industry, you can take that out. Okay. But like that scientist said, that stuff goes all over her body. All right. Everywhere. It doesn't just stay in the womb. It goes all over her entire body. Okay. And like he said, you know, you wonder how, you know, a child can truly be yours, but it has features of another man and sometimes characteristics, you know, just like that woman does. That's why she can't parabond. Okay. So yeah, that's polluted, and that's in the law as well, especially when it comes to marriage. Okay, let me get that in Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 9, and it reads, "Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with diverse seeds." Again, only the man has seed, and what is the vineyard? The land, like that woman, like a woman is compared to the land. It says, "Lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown, and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled." You see that? When you are, mingling diverse seed, okay? So men and women are not the same, okay? When it comes to that, you know, you take on those characteristics of all those men that you sleep with, you know, and your offspring will too. You know, you think you have a beautiful baby, and it's a fucking Frankenstein, you know, straight up. Yeah, that's in the law. Which it also says that in I believe in Leviticus 19 and 19 about mingling diverse seed. Look at Leviticus 19, 19. Okay, Leviticus 19 and 19, and it reads, "Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind." Okay, that's the stuff that like Esau is doing, splicing DNA, making ligers, and combinations of animals that typically won't mate with each other. You know, it goes on. "Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed, nor different seed." Okay, it says, "Neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee." All right, that's another video. But yeah, wearing those mixed fabrics are not good. You know, especially when like the fabrics today. You know, cotton is fine, but you got polyester mixed with it. You know, you try to keep the law. The material itself may be lawful, but the threading may not be. Okay, and most likely it isn't. Esau likes to do things very cheap and fast. He don't believe in the Bible. All right, but we talking about this body count on these women and why it's important that it don't be high. But hey, those are the curses. Y'all are running roughshod right now. You can't tell you nothing. All right, and you will be judged for it. All right, back to that Deuteronomy 22 and 9. It says, "Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with diverse seeds, lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled." Okay, now here again, this is a direct comparison between actual seed and the land and a man and a woman. All right, let's get that. This is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 23, and I'm starting verse 22. And it reads, "Thus shall it go also with the wife that leaveth her husband, and bringeth in an heir by another. For first she have disobeyed the law of the Most High." Okay, that's adultery. "Secondly, she have trespassed against her own husband." Okay. And thirdly, she hath played the whore in adultery and brought children by another man. Okay, that's that fruit. Okay. It says for 24, she shall be brought out into the congregation, and inquisition shall be made of her children. All right. It says, her children shall not take root, and the branches shall bring forth no fruit. Okay. That's going back to that Deuteronomy 22, chapter 22, verse 9. All right. She shall leave her memory to be cursed, and her reproach shall not be blotted out. Yeah, the neighborhood hoe. She for the streets. You know, if you're going to put it in today's terms. All right. And a lot of women, especially Jake women, ain't getting it. You know, they out here and brag, I can fuck who I want to fuck. You know, it's my business. Okay. Well, yeah, that's going to come with a cost. That's going to come with a cost. And it has, you know, with your integrity, you know, your ability to have a man that's going to be your covering, because you're going to need him. You know, go read Deuteronomy chapter, not Deuteronomy, Isaiah chapter 32, verses 1 through 4. You're going to need, you know, an elect man when judgment day comes. That's what Isaiah 4:1 is talking about. Okay. Isaiah 13:12 says he will make a man more precious than gold. Okay. Let me grab that. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 12. And it reads, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than a golden wedge of Ophir. Okay. In these coming days, an elect man is going to be worth more than gold, because he will be your hedge of protection in that day. All of your degrees, accomplishments, your money, it's not going to mean nothing in the day of wrath. That's a fact. This is Proverbs 11:4. And it reads, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. Did you hear that? Not your money, not your degrees. None of that's going to mean shit when all hell breaks loose. All right? So, yeah, we are not the same. You know, you tell yourself you want a God-fearing man. You know, what God are you talking about? Because in one breath, you'll say you want a God-fearing man and then ask him what his zodiac sign is. Dumbest shit in the world. All right? Makes absolutely no sense. But that just goes to prove that, you know, the Lord has deprived the woman of wisdom. Let me grab that. This is Job 39:17. And it reads, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. Okay? You didn't let Esau, the so-called or white man, trick you with his feminism, setting you over the man, you know, thinking you above the man. You know, when you see that it's not, just did a video yesterday. You know, Eve is starting to realize that she is really, really fucked up and gonna be left out here in the dust to dry. And they can't, the only an elect man can come from one of the 12 tribes of Israel, who are primarily your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay? Esau, Edom is slated for destruction and the so-called white man, and ultimately eliminated out of the earth. We're doing videos on that, you know, around the clock. We know just about who everyone is in the scriptures. Okay? He cannot save you because he's going to be destroyed. And as the scriptures say, you know, though joined hand in hand, the wicked will not go unpunished. All right? So you could connect it with him, and he's going to get punished. You're going to get punished right with him. All right? So once again, we are not the same. Oh, also, you're talking about a God-fearing man. Know your scriptures. Our forefather Jacob had 4 wives. Okay? 4 wives. Talking about you want a God-fearing man. Oh, and this is a kicker. What's that? Find wife. I know it's in Proverbs. Yeah, Proverbs 18 and 22. And it reads, whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay, you women love to quote that scripture. Okay, but don't know what it is to be a wife. Okay, initially, you have to be a virgin. Okay, that's a woman of marriageable age, and a woman that hasn't been touched by a man. Okay, that's first and foremost. Okay, and if you have been married already, like I said previously, that husband or husbands that you were married to, all of them have to be deceased. And marriage, in our custom, the Israelite custom is sex. All right, I'll say it again. The first marriage license in the U.S. began in the colony of Massachusetts in 1639. Okay, that was only 20 years after the first slave ship landed in Virginia, Jamestown, Virginia, 1639. Okay, marriage among Israelites wasn't recognized until the 14th Amendment, 1868. So the question is, what was our custom before that? It was sex. That's why you had to have the token of virginity. If that blood wasn't on that cloth after that hymen broke, that woman brought shame not only to her father, but brought folly unto Israel. And what was they supposed to do? Bring it to the doorsteps of her father, and the elders will stone her to death. All right? So, it is what it is now, but a lot of you women are going to get judged horribly for your whoredom. Horribly. That's why you're named so many times when the angel is going through Jerusalem and giving that mark of exemption from judgment, that the wa, according to the Hebrew word. Okay, that mark. Women are mentioned multiple times in that passage of scriptures, Ezekiel chapter 9, verses 4 through 6. Go read it. And there are more women on earth than there are men. That's why in that Isaiah 4 and 1, it says 7 women shall take hold of one man. Let me grab that. All right. Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. It says, and in that day, 7 women, and that 7 means completion, okay, shall take hold of one man, an elect man, okay? So whatever is a complete number of women for that particular elect man, that's what it is. It's not the actual, it could be the actual number, 7, but it doesn't have to be, okay? Because it means completion, okay? Saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Uh-oh. And that day, you're going to be paying for all your stuff and not expecting the man to do it. Why is that? It says, only let us be called by thy name. Okay, that means you're married to him. If you go all the way back to the garden, the Lord is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He says, I am Yahweh, I change not. Yet the sons of Jacob are not consumed. So that law hasn't changed. Okay, sex is what it is. All right. It's the marriage. That's why you're called by that person's name. All right. When they got called in the garden, he said, Adam, where art thou? They both came. All right? And it says, why is there be calling by their name? He says, only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Okay? That elect man can cover your shame and disgrace and your sins. You know? As long as he is devout and, honoring Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But you got to be listening to him too and doing the same thing. Okay? That's why. All right? So, for you sincere sisters that are listening, the evidence is in the video. All right? We are not the same. And you trying to be, have high body counts like men, thinking it's getting you somewhere. No, it's not. You're only defiling yourself. All right, so with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha HaKakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Abba, Shalom.